What was the biggest discovery or learning lesson you learned going from a painter to a business owner?
For me, I started my own company and I had never done any quoting. I had never done any sales. I essentially just sort of went out there and said, I'm a really good painter. You can trust me. I didn't know how to represent myself, to differentiate myself from the other painting companies that people were looking at. The quoting process, I had no idea how to look at a project and put together a price for it. The biggest learning curve when I started was almost trying to reverse engineer what my pricing was. Because I had started out slow, I got a lot of value out of reviewing. So my process was sort of like threefold. First, I would create the quote, and I created very detailed quotes. So when I would look at the outside of a house, I would decide how long it was going to take for me to do the prep on one window and then paint it the first coat and then paint it the second coat. So my quotes were basically like adding up half an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here. So I got very like specific into the hourly budgets that I had. And then when I was on the job sites, probably for the first year and a half, I would start my day with a plan of what I plan to do. I'm going to prep that fascia board up there, and then I'm going to prep that window there and that window there, and boom, boom, boom. So I'd make a list of everything that I planned on doing in the order that I would do it. And then I actually like looked at my watch, said 8:07, climbed a ladder, did my thing. As soon as I would come down the ladder and figure that I'm done and I didn't need to touch anything up, then I'd write it down 8:53, very detailed, right to the minute. And then I would just 8:53, start on the next one and go. So what I learned was how long does it actually take to do something? So at the end of a project, I would always take my quote and then take my actual hours and I would review to see where my budgeting was. Was I accurate? What I did at the beginning was I think I was quoting like 4 hours to prep a fascia, and I realized that it only took two. So I was able to be more cost effective for the client and still like make my wage. And then later on, I also discovered that some fascias and with certain heights and with crown molding and stuff, some of them are 4 hour prep. So I got better and better at being able to look at something and know exactly how long it should take to do that, which helped my quoting process. And further on down the road, in having conversations with accountants, I found out what I should actually be charging for my hourly rate. And believe it or not, I think my hourly rate right now is almost 3 times as much as what it was when I started out. So when I started out, because I had no sales and quoting advice or experience, I essentially just took how much money do I need to make on a monthly basis to survive? And then I figured I wouldn't be busy. So I said, if I only work half of that amount, I need to make that. So if I work full time, then I make twice as much as I need, and that'll make me comfortable. So I really just guessed basically in terms of how to charge when I first started.
So what I heard from you there is that you started off bidding based on time, not square footage. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I've never really quoted by square footage. I did start to do a little bit of square footage quoting when I started to do some new construction stuff. But then even when I did all of my quoting, I would reverse engineer my numbers down to find out how many actual, if I was expecting to charge this and the square foot told me how much I could charge, well then based off how much I could charge, how many labor hours could I fit that into there? So I always reversed it back down to how much time is it going to take? I had this old guy that worked for me, and he used to be a quoting guy for a large franchise, like North American franchise organization. And what he told me is what they quoted by linear feet. So I said, okay, great. I got this character home, big old wood thing that I've already quoted and we've already sold it. I was like, so let's go down there. You show me your process and tell me how you would quote it. And we did that. We sat down and reviewed the numbers, and I think I quoted it around $9,800, and I think he quoted it at like $6,800 to $7,200.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's always been that conversation of what do you charge per square foot versus how do you charge, and I'm sure we'll get into that into more podcasts as we go down the road.